Bryce, what has he improved and where has he gotten better? I think you see the same guy from college with Bryce. You see a guy who's very smart when it comes to going through the progressions, making the proper reads, proper decisions with the football. You see the accuracy jumps off the tape, right? And he's very decisive where he goes with the ball. When it's zone coverage, man coverage really doesn't matter, right? The accuracy, the decision making is really, really great to see. He's done a really good job there.
That is Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans talking about Bryce Young. I got to be honest, I haven't watched as much film on Bryce Young as DeMeco has, but the film I have watched of Bryce Young to this point this season has been underwhelming at best. I think that his size has been a real issue the first couple of weeks in the league, and I get it. Offensive line, not an ideal situation in Carolina, but Adam Thielen is putting up numbers for all those who are saying that he doesn't have anyone to work with. Is Adam Thielen what Adam Thielen was in Minnesota? Probably not. But the good news when it comes to the rookie quarterbacks to this point, it's not even a debate. C.J. Stroud's been way better than Bryce Young to open up his NFL career. But this is the annoying question that I have. Has C.J. Stroud hit a rookie wall? And I ask that because we've seen some really good performances out of Stroud this year. But if you've taken a look at Stroud the last couple of weeks, and in particular that game against a very good New Orleans Saints defense, where he finally threw his first interception, but luckily the Texans forced a fumble on it, recovered it. He threw sub 50% in that game. And if you have been watching the Texans this season, you'll notice that the last couple of weeks, teams who are realizing that they're just not very good at running the football, especially when Dameon Pierce is on the field, they're realizing that they don't need to send the house against Stroud to make his life difficult. If you drop guys back in coverage on a team that was without Tank Dell, it is hard for this team to make things happen. And that's true for a lot of quarterbacks. Usually, a rookie quarterback in particular, even if he has some immediate success in the league, there will eventually be a comeuppance because defenses have film and tape to study, and they figure out something that actually can fluster that quarterback. And I think with Stroud, over a couple of weeks, you have seen that teams throwing a ton of guys back in coverage have made him a little bit tentative when it comes to making decisions. And by the way, that's good. You want your quarterback to make the correct choice, but things aren't moving as quickly because throwing a bunch of guys back in coverage has been effective. And look, this happens to good quarterbacks too. It was, I want to say, 2 years ago where teams started doing that against Patrick Mahomes, and there was about an 8-week stretch where people were wondering if Mahomes had been figured out. You could say the same thing too with Josh Allen, with the Dolphins offense in the second half of last season. Defenses will come up with game plans that can stop all quarterbacks, not just the rookies. But that's where we're at with Stroud, and I wonder what Bobby Slowick and this Texans offense have done over the course of the bye week and what changes they might make coming out of the bye week. Because I think you can make the argument that the last couple of weeks have been a bit of a rookie wall for C.J. Stroud. It was bound to happen. He came out of the gates looking great. But when you see that list that I think Jeremy Brandon was talking about on the Killer Bees that DJ Bieneme and I were discussing yesterday, where Stroud ranks, I think, 14th in the NFL among quarterbacks, it makes sense because the last couple of weeks it has not been as easy. Hopefully Tank Dell being back is going to help out on that front. Dell's been awesome. Really. When he's been out there and they've used him, he has looked great. Didn't think he would be a deep threat in the degree that he's been to this point, but he has been. And he's also a guy that can get open in the quick and the short range. And guys like that do help you out against teams that are throwing a ton of guys back in coverage. Because if you're playing a lot of zone, a receiver like Tank Dell is going to be able to find a probably little spot, and all he has to do is catch the football and make a move and potentially get 3-4 extra yards or something like that. Next thing you know, 7-yard gain, 8-yard gain, something like that. But having Dell back, I think, is going to help Stroud out. But I do think that there is an argument to be made that teams have correctly figured out that throwing a bunch of guys back in coverage makes it more difficult for him. How does he adapt? We'll see. It was a sub 50% completion percentage game for him against the New Orleans Saints, and teams clearly do not respect the running attack of the Texans right now. And I would especially not respect the running attack of the Texans if Dameon Pierce is in the game at this moment in time. For whatever reason, it's not working, even though we know Dameon Pierce is talented. We saw it last year. He, in this offense, this zone running scheme, is not patient. He likes to put his shoulder into linebackers and try to run through them, where Devin Singletary seems to have the kind of patience that's necessary here. So maybe that's also a fix for CJ Stroud in the Texans offense over the next couple of games, is that Devin Singletary is the starting running back. I'm not the only person that has suggested that he gets more looks. I'm not. He should get more looks. He has looked better out there than Pierce was late. Just seems to be more of a fit. And sometimes it's more important to be a fit. Like one of the issues I had with Jalen Green last night, I think as the season goes on, you're hoping with him in the Rockets that he will figure out a more established role for him. Because right now it is tricky. Like you are coming from a year last year where you are bringing the ball up on your own from time to time. Same with Kevin Porter Jr. Now all of a sudden you have a point guard. You want to give it to Alperen Sengun from time to time. But you got to figure out your role, and Dameon Pierce hasn't figured out his role in this offense to this moment in time.